We're back again from Origins 2024 with another game jam. This time I'm joined by Drayer of Drayer Inc. BubbleNet is on Kickstarter right now.
Right now.
As we record, right now.
Mm-hmm.
What's your percent right now?
I believe it was 85% last time I checked. It might be 86.
It might be 86. So, we're going to game jam. Start the timer.
Started.
All right. So there's a little bit of setup. Usually we have no a priori anything, but you wanted specifically to make an RPG. So, let's make one.
Okay.
So I have some. So what do you want to make a game about? What kind of characters are going to be? What are they going to be doing? I don't know. What do you think? What's first thoughts? We've got some stuff to inspire us. If you want to, I don't know. But
people have mentioned frogs to me a lot recently.
Okay.
I don't know why that just popped into my head, but that's what I got.
All right. It's frogs.
Could be pond related. Could be like
pond related.
We could be.
Okay.
We could be.
I like a frog. I like a pond community, like almost like a
layers.
Could be layers, like the layers of a like a tower thing. I'm thinking like a cozy mystery sort of thing, but all of it happens within the pond environment, right?
That sounds good.
Okay.
Well, because ponds have all these different. What I was thinking of is they have all these different layers of life in them. Like there's what's actually in the sediment at the bottom. Then there's like the different layers of the water, and there are like the semi-aquatic and fully aquatic animals, and then the ones that sort of live on top, and like the lily pads and all that kind of thing. So we have this
like
whole
the skyscraper equivalent or whatever.
Exactly, like this whole ecosystem of literally ecosystem. Wow.
Literally ecosystem. Yeah.
Literally ecosystem.
It's like an ecosystem. Almost exactly.
Exactly, precisely like one.
Okay, so I think this is really dramatic. If we want to do, like I said, cozy mystery, do we want to do? It's only murders in the pond, right?
Yeah. So what could have happened in the pond?
So are we playing investigators, or are we playing like sort of normal pond dwellers who have sort of been pressed into investigating the mystery that is?
What if we're witnesses to an investigation and we're trying to figure out what they're investigating?
Okay, that could work.
So we're the onlookers.
Okay.
We don't know what happened and we don't know what they're investigating, and we're trying to investigate the investigation to figure out what the mystery is. Is that too meta?
It's maybe not if you figure out how to do it right, but it does add additional complexity to like motivations, like
adding complexity. How unusual. Let's start with a simple one. Let's start rather than kitchen sinking this. Let's start with
There's been a murder
right
in the pond, and we, for whatever reasons, want to solve the mystery for whatever reason.
Right.
So that's our character and the environment sort of thing. Okay, so, great. Now, what are we going to do mechanically to make that a challenge? Because we could just sit down and tell a story, like, okay, well, I'm from the top lily pad, but I don't actually like my parents. I've been up there I'm the frog that lives on the lily pad. I think I want to swim down in the mud, and like, I like hanging out with the crustaceans. They're a lot cooler down in the mud, but like, mom and dad up on the lily pad pay the bills, right? So like, it's like
it's actually a low risk. It feels scary, but actually, they'll bail me out. Yeah,
that's true. That's a real,
like Upper East Side,
a frog of privilege situation there. Like, I've set myself up.
I managed to make a New York reference there for those of you who.
I missed it. I am not a New York person. I don't know.
It's because I watched Gossip Girl. So.
Hey, it's all grist for the engine.
Absolutely,
it's all grist for the milk. So anyway, that's a character. Like, but so that's a storytelling element. But like, what is the challenge then? That's the mechanic. So like, a lot of dice. Like in a very famous role-playing game, you use a d20 to determine how close to a certain number you get when you're trying to swing your sword or whatever. That's like the random element that is physically happening on the table that makes the story that we're trying to tell, that represents the challenge of the story we're trying to tell.
Could we discover more dice or things could we start with like a D something small and discover things in some way that allow us to roll more to give us more variations? Is that a thing?
I like that. You could certainly make a game that does that. So one thing narratively we could be using, I've got tarot cards and I've got playing cards, if those are like something going to control or not like for example, I was thinking about the classic like clue sort of thing where you put the card on the board. So you draw a tarot card. That's the answer to the mystery, but we don't know which one it is. So that's sort of hidden from us from the beginning.
Love that.
So that's an element that we could.
So a
mix
little bit
in.
like Cluedo, which you probably call Clue.
I did.
Right. No, I was making sure that's the kind of clue you meant.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's that. But then the dice mechanic, like, is there a certain sort of? I like the idea of this. So if we don't use tarot cards, instead we use playing cards. There's a fewer number of them, but also you could draw.
And there are actual numbers, so those numbers could become the numbers that become available for us to roll or something.
Well, I was thinking the more like investigation you do, you get to move up your die level, and then when you roll the die, you get to draw more cards from the deck.
Okay.
So you've got more information. The more investigating you're doing, you're finding which card isn't in the deck, like in Cluedo. And so that's sort of like something I'm thinking about.
Okay,
like
that's interesting.
So as a thing to
so
do.
we're rolling to find out what's not. So we're going to take a couple of. Okay.
So those are the jokers. I don't think we want the jokers in here. Those are going to mess up.
No.
Unless those are, you could mix the jokers in as like wild random elements, like the story gets interrupted or something like that. But for now, let's
see what this does first.
Yeah,
I love the idea of adding those things in, but I have also just pulled myself back on like multiple add too many complication things.
Okay.
Let's do a core loop.
So you pick the card.
Pick a card, any card.
Yeah, pick a card, any card.
Oh, see now I'm thinking about Rome.
Yeah, this is for a Roman themed game.
Yes, but you know the thing about thinking about the Roman Empire? Well, you just made me do that.
Oh, is that like turned into the losing the game thing?
Sort of, but it's like this sort of running joke that men in particular think about. Yeah. I have a classics degree, so I do actually think about the Roman Empire more often than you.
And I'm a history major, so like, I have reason to think about the Roman Empire.
Yep.
That's funny.
The card says, I'm going to show you without looking at it. Holding it against my phone. It says SPQR on it. So I'll put that bag down without looking. There we go. Okay, so I don't know what it is.
So
8 minutes left. Oh my. Ooh, these are beautiful dice. They're so watery. This is perfect.
Those are watery. I've got yet more watery ones here.
Wow.
Let me give you the most watery ones.
I love these colors.
I got these when we were playing
We're doing an interview.
when we got these for an undersea themed game that we're doing. So these are the standard polyhedrals.
Yeah.
Counting ups.
Look at that. Lovely.
So I think I loved what you said before about like our dice counting up. So like,
yeah.
Well, I guess we got 2 10s here. I did this earlier. I got multiple 10s, but where's the 20s? I don't know if we want to go to 20, but if we want to go to 20, we got 20s also. So
I think I have a 20.
So I really like the idea of we start at the lowest level. We know the least about the mystery, right? So maybe we each roll our low die. And so I rolled a 4, and you got a 2, so let us give... So we now know some stuff. We know what card isn't the answer to the mystery. Mm-hmm. I don't know. There's a lot of cards in the deck. There's a lot of cards in the deck, and I'm not good at counting. Okay, so now, what would make us get better at the mystery? Do we narrate some now, or do we... I think we have to kind of narrate at each stage of the investigation. To make
I think that makes sense.
Okay, so I've kind of already proposed a character, kind of entitled, sort of thinks he's slumming. Like he's trying to be real and get back to the people, but he's kind of ham-fisted about it, or frog-fisted about it. So I've established that as my character. I don't know why, but that's what came to my mind first. What kind of character, pond person?
I feel like I'm something that like hibernates down in the mud and comes out of the mud. So it's that sort of so I'm not exactly sure which kind of animal that is, but I'm probably going to go because there are different types of frogs that do that sort of thing. So probably we'll just say we're both frogs, but I'm that kind of frog.
Okay, but you come from the mud instead of from the
mud.
ponds.
Yeah, I think it's good for us to have this simple dichotomy for the story at this point.
Okay, I love it. So frog folk investigating the murder. So I have... Do the suits mean anything, or are they just numbers? Like, what do we... Do we do anything else with
feel
the
like
cards?
maybe if we reduced this to just one suit, so we had fewer numbers.
That would be a good idea.
That might
would
make
be a
it
good
easier to
idea.
investigate, and then it's just the numbers we need to worry about at this point. And obviously, the numbers can eventually mean something more.
Do we want to reset the deck? Because I think that is a good idea,
I think,
especially for time.
given
Let's
how many
reset.
we've got. So, and it was for those of you who wanted to know.
If you guessed and got it right, bonus points via the internet.
These are beautiful cards.
Yeah, these are.
So while you're sorting,
Yeah.
I'm going to think about how maybe we could be finding these other dice. I feel like there could be an excavation element to it.
Okay.
Like literally going through the different layers. So depending on which of the numbers we decide to reveal, maybe they're actually depth.
Okay,
and at one of
okay.
these depths is where the murder has occurred.
Okay.
So where the information. So like, it's one is the surface, and is it 13? It must be 13. Is the bottom, and each of these, as we discover them, it gives us more dice, which will give us more cards to explore.
Okay. I like that sort of like layers of the pond. That was one of the first things you said. So yeah, let's see if we can make sure that's in there.
I feel like that's giving us some really interesting.
So like maybe there's 6 kinds of dice, so there's maybe 6 layers to the pond.
Yep.
And so we get to roll one die kind at each layer of the pond.
And that makes sense, because if there are 6 layers, then each of the numbers of the cards, because there are 13 cards, one of those is the one that's out, and the other 12, 2 of those point to each of the layers, which will help us eliminate one of the layers.
Okay.
Or no, helps us get another card. What are these things called? Another die.
Another die. Okay.
Yeah.
So I've shuffled them up again.
Yep.
I'm going to put our mystery card over here.
Yep.
This should just be the
3.5
spades.
minutes left.
Yeah. So I think we've got enough time to like see if this has legs for it. Frog's got legs. So
no, eat.
So again, so do we?
I reckon we do what you were saying. So we roll to see how many cards we find out about.
Each get to look at.
Okay, so you get 2,
so
I get 4. It's the other way
It's
around.
the other way around. It's the other way around. Let's start with you again.
Cool.
And then, so maybe these go back, because there's not going to be enough
I think
dice to like.
we could tell a story based on these to reveal something, right?
Right. I think yeah.
So.
What strikes you as a story?
I think I can say that because I come from the depths, I can say that, deep down in the depths where I come from, this is an ace. So I'm going to say ace is the bottom. Just deep down in the depths where I come from, my buddies have told me that it's definitely not happening there.
Yeah.
Even though you think it's in the underbelly, it's not. Can you confirm that? Do you have a 2?
I don't have a 2, but what I have is some shenanigans are happening up in the there's a fancy lady involved. Somebody saw a very well-appointed frog. She was looking fine, and you don't usually see frogs looking so fine here in the area where the murder occurred. It's not that it has any moral judgment about it. You just, people don't dress that way
People just
usually.
don't need to dress that way in this part of the...
So that's the information that I can add to this level. So
based on that, we know that it's likely to be in the middle. Does that mean that we get a different die?
Well, I think definitely we have to use a different die, but I think we're not exactly sure why yet. I think maybe we only pick one card to reveal. So we've each revealed one card, and you know those other 3, but I don't. So maybe now we put all the cards back and then draw the next card.
Okay.
We roll the next die.
Because it's not that many to remember, so yeah. And do we shuffle them?
I think we do.
Yeah.
I think we shuffle.
Okay, let's shuffle them. We've got a minute left.
Yeah, we got a minute left.
I feel like we're on an interesting track, though.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
So I roll
now we're
going to
roll
the next biggest
6.
one. Yep. We both got 6.
Hey, well, we're going to find out a lot of information.
We're going to find out a lot of information. 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. So that's interesting. As we go higher, like, you immediately run out of cards. Like, that may be a design flaw. I don't know. All right. Noting that. I will say, it's kind of hard to tell the I's from the J's in the Latin alphabet. But obviously the J would have a drawing
An
of a person
illustration on it, yeah.
And also the 1 is the ace, so,
Yeah,
But
that's true.
if you see an I, it's probably a J.
I mean, I'm reasonably confident from the information I have here in the last 20 seconds that
Can you solve the mystery already?
I feel like it's happened somewhere in the very middle.
Okay.
I think it might be somewhere around about 6.
Okay. I think I'm in agreement with you about that.
So,
Do we want to, as the timer goes off,
stop. There we go.
do we want to check in this card?
Yep. Hey! So, I mean, as a proof of concept, it's not terrible.
It's not terrible. It's not terrible.
And there's space to build story all around that, especially if these cards have a bit more on them.
Yeah.
I wonder if using the tarot that way could work with a little bit more guidance about what the tarot cards mean in that context.
Yeah.
I mean, this is really easy. It's numbers.
It's numbers.
But,
and we're not working with that many cards. And like I said, like when you roll a 6, we each roll a 6. There's only 12 cards to divvy out. We've seen all the cards now. Like with a bigger deck, it'd take longer to do
and
that.
obviously, you kind of want it to take a bit longer.
Yeah.
I like that. That's fun.
But there's something there. There. Okay.
Yeah.
So we've already talked a little bit, but like the number one question I like to ask is like, what as a designer got you excited about this process? So like, not about the process, but about the game design elements that we were working with.
What I found interesting, and the word I said almost immediately was layer.
Yeah.
And I can see here the opportunity to add all of these connections between the things that are happening at these different stages that will help us. I mean, we could basically side quest into each of these different layers and dig into them.
Right, the roots of the lily pads are different from the mud below.
Exactly, and there's literally texture to this.
Yeah.
And that part immediately makes me think, oh, okay, so I can add story into this, I can add complexity into this, I can add challenges here and there and all of those sorts of things. So, like, I'm starting to understand now how an RPG goes from the sort of skeleton and you start to... So for me, this is like
It's great. So...
Thank you.
Would you? The other second question I like to ask is, this was an interesting thing. We should set it aside and move on to other things, or no? There's something here that merits more investigation. So what would be the first thing that you would want to iterate on this very simple design that we've done?
So at the moment we have a very simple loop that is too easy to solve, but that's the idea, because when you're building a mystery, you start with it being easy to solve and then you add complexity in the way to make it interesting, because if you start with the kind of thing I wanted to start with, you're going to just get tangled and trip over your own shoelaces. So what I would like to do is figure out, actually teach myself to add the layers of complexity gently, kind of like, in Canvas when you're adding cards, like transparent cards onto transparent cards. Like, calm down and just do little bits and iterate slowly, adding. And because normally my technique is to remove. I'm more of a sculptor than a painter.
Okay.
So I think that would be a really interesting exercise.
All right.